Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Years ago, like a long time ago, I was working in a restaurant, and one night I was working at it was the oyster bar. We had this or a oyster boat filled with ice and shellfish. We had oysters and clams on the half shell, and I'd shuck them for the people, and we had condiments there. Right, there's a cocktail sauce and some lemons and wasabi, right? Some some hot sauce. So wasabi is, if you're not familiar with wasabi, it's a Japanese horseradish. It's really hot, right? And it's green, right? So one night I'm there working at the oyster bar, and a guy comes up to order an oyster on a half shell, and he's got his girlfriend there, and he's trying to impress her, I think. So I shuck his oyster, and he takes a scoop, and he takes a big scoop of wasabi and puts it on the oyster. And I said, that's really hot. He goes, I know what it is. And he takes another scoop and puts it on. I said, are you sure you want that way? I know what it is. It's like, okay. And then he pops it in his mouth, and he starts to chew, and a second later, his eyes get about as big as saucers, and he starts sweating profusely, and he's choking, and his girlfriend gets him a glass of water, and takes him a little while to recover from this. And then he looked at me and said, "That's not guacamole, is it?" I said, "No, it's not guacamole." And this passage kind of reminds me of that. Jesus says, "You've hidden these things from the wise and the learned, yet revealed them to the childlike." Well, it's not that that things are hidden from the wise and the learned. The problem is that when we're so wise and learned that we're so confident in what we know that we close our minds to the truth. Right? And that's what happened to this guy. He was so sure he was right, he didn't even imagine the possibility that he was not right. And when we do that in the Christian life, we do it at our own peril. Right? And so that's our challenge. Right? The childlike, right? When you're a child, you're trusting, right? And you believe. And as we get more knowledgeable, we get so certain in our knowledge that sometimes we can run the risk of closing our minds to the truth. And so my prayer this morning is that as we gather to celebrate this Holy Eucharist, that we will keep our minds open to the truth, that we don't get so prideful in our own knowledge that we close our minds to the truth of Jesus Christ, the truth of love, compassion, mercy, gentleness, humility. These are the truths that Jesus calls us to live our lives by. And when we close our mind to that through our own pride and our own knowledge, we do so at our own peril.